I bet you took a car service here. I bet you get chauffeured around. When was the last time you were on the subway? When was the last time you were in Brownsville, Bed-Stuy, East
Let me tell you, my friend, you have no idea about my life.
Okay, so when was the last time you were on the news?
Who are these?
Hold on, what privilege? When I get on the subway, just tell me the privilege. When I'm dressed like this on the subway, I am a target. That is not a privilege. I'm a target. There's the guy who probably...
I'm just saying,
the police say it helps.
that this has never happened before.
First of all, let me just tell you, a lot of people do not care what the police think or what the police unions think. They themselves are quite problematic. And if you want to start getting harassed by law enforcement, it is not safe.
I want to go back to one thing Tiffany said. Tiffany said people...
I'm not deflecting. You're deflecting. I mean,
they said it's okay to beat a black person, to murder a black person, but you gotta be wearing a badge when you do it.
Who are the victims?
Do you want to listen, or do you can't talk and listen at the same time?
Well,
let me just tell you. Well, it doesn't sound like it.
From their lives, they can use the parks. They can walk on the streets. You have people who can walk freely at night without having to worry about being robbed or mugged or wearing their watches.
To point out that he is a white supremacist and he is the brainchild behind this policy. That's not my opinion. That's actual facts. And for him to purport lies from the Oval Office as a white supremacist,
I don't know.
It should be.
Hello, everybody. Guys, let's get right into the segment. We got evil Mr. Clean trying to come at Tiffany Cross and made a big mistake. I mean, huge. Like Pretty Woman. I know you guys know the reference. You guys literally know all of them. Let's get into this segment and we'll talk about it.
Donald Trump's military occupation could soon be coming to other cities across the U.S., and he already has his sights set on his next location.
I made the statement that next should be Chicago because, as you all know, Chicago is a killing field right now, and they don't acknowledge it.
Chicago is a city that's seen a significant drop in crime over the last year, including homicides, which are at their lowest levels in nearly a decade. But the facts don't matter to Trump, who today gave himself more power to expand his law enforcement crackdown by signing an order that creates so-called specialized units within the National Guard that could be trained in police work. But in a fiery speech, Illinois' Democratic governor had this message for Trump.
This is not about fighting crime. This is about Donald Trump searching for any justification to deploy the military in a blue city, in a blue state, to try and intimidate his political rivals. There is no emergency in Chicago that calls for armed military intervention. Mr. President, do not come to Chicago. You are neither wanted here nor needed here.
Now, if this sounds like Trump is taking a cue from the dictator playbook, he claims you'd be wrong. And yet in the same breath, he says this is what Americans want.
And they say, we don't need him, freedom, freedom. He's a dictator, he's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense and I'm a smart person.
Oh, that's so sad. Trump thinks he's smart and has common sense. Is anyone going to tell the chunky monkey? He's one of the dumbest people I've seen. I'm not kidding. And of course he wants to be a dictator. That's why he mentioned it. A lot of people want me to be. It's only your idiot, bloodthirsty, stupid-ass followers. That's the only ones.
It's amazing to me that he would even bring that up, but I guess he understands that that's what's on people's minds. You know, we've asked a number of times, and I think it really begs the asking again, why is it that Trump and his administration refuse to even look at some of the most dangerous cities in America that are in red states, where maybe they could easily get the governor's approval, like Memphis, Tennessee, for example, Cleveland, Ohio, Kansas City, Missouri? They could get the governors in a heartbeat to say yes to National Guard troops. Why not do that?
Well, Chicago's long been, and Washington, D.C. have long been the murder capitals of the country.
Yeah, but all those states that I mentioned are more dangerous when it comes to violent crime than Chicago.
If your relative gets killed, you don't care if it's a blue state or a red state. Chicago's had nearly 600 murders a year. When Rahm Emanuel was mayor quite a while ago, it was maybe 400. I think every one of those families in the 600 who were killed last year would like to, maybe the federal government had intervened and helped them back then. Donald Trump also said he wouldn't come in unless the governor asked him, but the governor ought to ask him.
Why won't he go where the governor will ask him?
They haven't asked him. They haven't asked him. Does anyone think Chicago is safe? Is Chicago, but Abby, the question is...
So, in Illinois hasn't asked him, but he insists that he's going to go anyway.
Is Chicago
But other states like Tennessee and maybe Ohio, maybe if if he said, hey, I'll bring National Guard troops, they're Republicans. Maybe they would say yes, but he hasn't.
But you're avoiding the
them.
question. Is Chicago safe enough? Do they need help? Yes, they could use help.
No city is safe enough, but I mean, Trump seems.
Yeah, you can always be more safe, but again, at what cost? And Trump has the Republican Party by their tiny little balls. They are spineless. They will go along with any and everything Trump says. The reason he doesn't go after red states is simple, because this is about making racist white people feel like their daddy is taking care of them by going after the dangerous minorities in the cities, in those big, dangerous liberal cities. These people have been propagandized to believe it's like Mad Max out here, or like apocalyptic. This is what is always about with Republicans, attacking minorities. Conservatives take it as, finally, someone fighting for the poor white people. Oh, my hero. My knight in shining armor. Does anyone ever think about the poor white man's feelings? Amazing. They get everything. System is rigged to their favor, and still crying that it isn't enough and they need more.
Just to acknowledge, just to be clear, that he can't do this. Because what he signed today basically says to the National Guard, you get to train your troops to do, to intervene in, domestic disturbances, which they already do. He did not actually send the troops to Chicago or to Baltimore or anywhere else. Why do you think that is?
Well, bottom line is this. This is not about law and order. Donald Trump wants to make it about law and order, but it's about fear and control. He wants to control these places where the governors in these states aren't going to allow him to control that. You heard that from Wes Moore. You heard that from Pritzker. You heard that from Newsom. They're going to stand in that doorway and say, I'm sorry, Mr. President, but this is one of those times in which you don't get to do whatever the hell you want to do when you want to do it. And in essence, he thinks he can intimidate these folks. And it seems like all of the things that we have in common, these cities that he keeps saying, are cities in blue states. And you pointed out, these cities in red states, when you go to Louisiana, when you go to Ohio, when you go to Tennessee, when you go to some of these other places where crime is very high, it is quiet as a bunch of church mice. He's not even talking about it.
Arthur, the legalities of this are not really in Trump's favor.
And that's why, that's the answer your own, you're answering your own question, like why he hasn't done it.
He is like saying that he wants to do it, but it seems that at least on some level they understand they would need to figure out an actual legal framework to do this.
And they may be doing so.
Yeah.
Right? But let's just talk about the logistics for a second. Number one, I don't think it's accurate that in your open you referred to it as Trump's military occupation. When Governor Hochul here in New York put the National Guard in the subways and in some crime-ridden areas, I don't think we referred to it as military occupation. Why? I ride the subways. I loved when they were there. I mean, law-abiding citizens love that. Are you kidding me? I wish there were more police officers and have one in every single car in the subway at every platform. We can't. That's why Governor Hochul said we're going to put them out and around. Law-abiding citizens, I don't see them objecting or looking to it as like it's a takeover by the military. I'm walking down the street. I walk out of my law firm at 1 o'clock in the morning in Midtown Manhattan, and I see a military guy there. You think I'm upset about that, or am I thrilled about
why
that?
you're
in
not
Washington, D.C., he has attempted to take over the police department, A.
With the police department union support.
And B, I didn't ask whether they supported it or not. I mean, I'm just answering the question about whether or not there's a takeover. I mean, that was the intention, was to essentially take control over law enforcement in the city, which he can do because it's a federal city. Right. That's what Trump wants to do. So I don't know.
That's what he has done.
Why you're quibbling with that part.
You are absolutely right and accurate in your open, Abby. I think the reason why you may feel that way, Arthur, is because you maneuver in society with a certain privilege. The question is, who are these?
Well, hold on, what privilege? When I get on the subway, just tell me the privilege. When I'm dressed like this on the subway, I am a target. That is not a privilege. I'm a target. There's the guy who probably has a wallet and a watch.
Arthur, I want you to be
That's not
open.
Privilege.
I want you to have a little bit of intellectual curiosity and be open and let me finish my point.
I'm very curious.
Thank you. I think when you ask the question, who is the militarized law enforcement there to protect, and who are they there to protect from? And so often in this country, particularly, that is how law enforcement swole their ranks. There was so much violence against people of color, black people in particular in this country, that they said it's okay to beat a black person, to murder a black person, but you gotta be wearing a badge when you do it.
Who are the victims?
Do you want to listen, or do you can't talk and listen at the same time?
Well,
let me just tell you. It doesn't sound like it. My point to you is, I am telling you on the front lines what is happening. And there are militarized police force going in harassing longtime law-abiding citizens of Washington, D.C. And so when we, who are probably a little more familiar with American history perhaps than you, look at the military turning the police force on its own people, we remember the examples like Tulsa, when law enforcement dropped bombs on its own community. We know what it is like to have people.
We're far from that, though.
We are not so far. We are not so far from that. We are not so. We are actually not so far from that.
We need to bring some numbers.
I despise when they do this. He knows what she's trying to get to here. It's very simple. For people of color, the police treat us differently. Even Mr. Clean knows this. You're a bald-ass white dude in a suit. No cop is ever looking twice at you. Not even once. But he knows this. All white people know this. Just some act like this kind of discrepancy doesn't exist. And in my view, they do this because they're bigots. You always have this. These Republicans say, oh, how police makes them feel so safe and warm inside. Okay, yes, I understand this. The police, with no context, of course, is going to make you feel safe. But when you add the context of your skin color, yes, you get treated differently. And that's why a lot of people of color have a somewhat negative view of police. Not all of them, obviously, it's not an absolute, but it's just that we don't always feel safe with them around. Is it so hard for you to understand why? And I think this is nonsense. I need to stop saying that. Like, they know what they're doing here. They don't want to admit something is wrong, because then it means treating everyone fairly. And that's the problem. They don't want that. They don't want equality because they do not see us as equals. It's that simple. I mean, if I'm wrong here on my thoughts, let me know in the comments. I love seeing what you guys think, regardless.
Into this. Washington, D.C. has a net loss of 500 police officers since 2020. They are undermanned. The D.C. Police Union supports what Donald Trump's doing. They think it's working. We've gone 13 days without a murder in Washington, D.C. in August, the heat of the summer. That never happens. This is going to be the lowest number of murders in August on record.
That actually is not true.
We're changing the changing the goalposts.
And that's a lie.
The lowest number of murders in August, but just earlier this year, in February, 16 days without any murders.
Oh, it has happened before. It doesn't tend to happen in August. It doesn't tend to happen in the summer.
I think that's completely arbitrary.
No, it's not. The heat of
it's not.
No, everyone knows summer's a high crime.
Hold on a second.
High crime time.
I just think it is pretty arbitrary to just say, well, in August.
Okay, CNN's own
it's
reporting.
Happened.
Let's go. Okay, let's go to more stats.
It's happened earlier this year.
CNN's own reporting.
But it's obvious that if you fill the streets with cops, like, obviously, guess what? If you fill the streets with tanks, even more crime is going to go down. Like, obviously. But what happens when they leave? Like, these guys are so stupid. They're acting like this is not a performance. This is all nonsense. It's already been reported. They're not even going to the neighborhoods where there is crime. This is all a show.
It says crime is down 19% from the weeks before.
I didn't say that it wasn't down.
So is it working? Is it helping?
I didn't say that it wasn't down.
Working.
I'm just
the
saying
the police
the
say it
idea
helps.
that this has never
First of all,
happened
let me just tell you, a lot of people do not care what the police think or what the police unions think. They themselves are quite problematic. And if you want to talk about CNN's own reporting, we should look to Daniel Dale, who did an amazing job of real-time fact-checking the parade of lies Donald Trump purported
in his press conference. Can I play a little bit more? This is from Stephen Miller. He's describing what apparently he thinks has been happening in D.C. recently in the last couple of days.
Abby is fascist powder. His name is fascist powder.
For the first time in their lives, they can use the parks, they can walk on the streets. You have people who can walk freely at night without having to worry about being robbed or mugged or wearing their watches again. They're wearing jewelry again. They're carrying purses again.
He is wrong.
He's right.
I want to go back.
We should point out, but can I just say,
He talked about the watch. I mean, I kept my watch in my top drawer.
But anytime
that is a priority.
I bet you took a car service here. I bet you get chauffeured around. When was the last time you were on the subway? When was the last time you were in Brownsville, Bed-Stuy, East
Let me tell you, my friend, you have no idea about my life.
Okay, so when was the last time you were on the New York City subway? Tell us.
Last week.
Hang on just 1 second, Arthur.
I did, but
Arthur,
can I just say really quickly, Abby, because anytime that we play something from Stephen Miller, it would be journalistic integrity to point out that he is a white supremacist and he is the brainchild behind this policy. That's not my opinion, that's actual facts. And for him to purport lies from the Oval Office as a white supremacist,
I don't know.
it should be pointed out.
Big aspersions.
It's reporting Washington Wall Street Journal's own reporting.
I want to address what he's claiming. He says that
Republicans, they're such wimps. This is it right here. Scott Jennings did the same thing to, I think it was Julie Rodzinski. He asked her, do you feel safe walking around at midnight in D.C.? And she said, yeah, I'm not a coward like you guys are afraid like you guys are. He was so embarrassed by that. This is the same thing. Rewind that. He was embarrassed by that. That she took the train, Tiffany Cross took the train and felt completely safe. Guess what? Most New Yorkers take the train every day at all times and they feel safe. Like, do things happen? Of course. It's a densely populated city, you idiots. Like, these people are so insane. They really think it's Mad Max out. Like, what do you... They're such wimps. He was so pissed that she said that she felt safe. Because he doesn't. Why? Because you're an effing wimp. You're a wimp. I said this before. They see black and brown people at a grocery store and they run back home and tell their family and friends how dangerous the city is without anything happening. These people are just, it's their bigotry. That's what I believe.
For the first time in their lives, people can use parks in Washington, D.C. They can go out to dinner in Washington, D.C. Brad, I don't know if you live in D.C. or in the nearby surroundings, but that is factually untrue. That is not true.
You could use parks before and you could go out to dinner.
Yeah,
now,
and you could wear jewelry, you could wear your watches.
But you're deflecting though, Abby. The question here is D.C. safer this week than it was 3 weeks ago? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I want to go back. I want to go back to one thing Tiffany said. Tiffany said people.
I'm not deflecting. You're deflecting. I mean, the point is,
I'm not deflecting.
Nobody is saying. Listen, I, unlike Donald Trump, believe the statistics. The numbers are in fact down. I don't think
so. It's helping. So it's a good thing.
Of course.
Good.
For a temporary basis. But this is a city where people are going to be living there when Donald Trump has moved on to the next thing. And the question is, what is going to be the trajectory of crime, and is this a sustainable move?
Well,
maybe it has helped.
The DC police force.
What's next for DC? And I think that's the question a lot of
residents are asking. If we're going to talk about policing as well, let's talk about the fact that Donald Trump cut the budget for community policing when he was the first president in his first administration, and he is also proposed cutting community policing grants in the second administration. So you can't tell me you're for law and order and you're for community policing when you cut the budgets for policing in cities across this country.
Well, wait just a second.
Policing
is a function of local government budgeting. And I want to go back to what Tiffany said.
By the way, Brad, I mean, as we've discussed, Congress...
Hold up, sorry, and I have to mention this. Tiffany Cross has every right, as a black person, to have a level of disdain for police or the police union. And again, it's not all of them. There's no absolutes. And even Mr. Clean and the southern guy there that says white, I don't know why, but even this is especially to evil Mr. Clean, punk ass, bald ass, dumbass. Do you not see how black and brown people may feel a bit different about constantly having police presence? Like, I hate when they act so ignorant. They're both doing it. You know what she's saying, to go back to Tiffany. Why do you keep coming back to her? This is not about Tiffany Cross. And Tiffany Cross is completely right about fascist powder Stephen Miller being a white nationalist. This is very well known about him. This is what he did. He went after people of color, immigrants, LGBTQ community, rolling back civil rights, voting, and just relentlessly going against these different groups of people. He has a long, long history of this. You can look it up and see it for yourself.
Arbitrarily cut DC's budget this year. And that included money for everything, for police, for schools, for all of that. They could restore that money, which they, again, arbitrarily cut, but they haven't done that despite all of the concern about
DC has plenty
crime.
of waste in other areas of government.
Oh,
but let's go backwards.
Let's go back to what
Tiffany
there's a cop shortage, right?
Tiffany said.
You pointed out that there's a cop shortage. So how do you propose fixing that cop shortage, if not to hire more cops?
Here's why there's a cop shortage in D.C. Number one, Democrats have denigrated police for the last 5 years. Tiffany just did it here earlier. People said people don't care what police think. Number two,
I guess the Republicans have denigrated.
Wait a minute. The D.C. City Council has tied the hands of the D.C. police force. That's what the union's complaint is.
Yeah.
They can't pursue people who they find are committing a crime.
I think you're right about that. And the mayor has also disagreed with the city council on that very issue. But again, you know, where's the money going to come from to hire more police?
There's
Congress has it within their
plenty of
power
waste
to
in
restore
D.C.
that
government
money.
to cut.
All right,
And more police
we got to
is not
move
the
on.
answer to
Breaking news
communities.
for us tonight, President.
Yeah, more police isn't the answer. You know how I know this? It's very simple math. They just said it. DC has a shortage in police, but somehow crime has drastically decreased. How did that happen? How did that happen? This is all nonsense and a performance for brain-dead Republicans. If you want crime to go down, get people out of effing poverty, not put them in it. Like, take your tax cuts for the rich that took money directly from the lowest income earners by taking away millions of people's Medicaid and SNAP benefits. Like, we talked about this. Trump will throw everything and anything against the wall, hoping his slobbering supporters get sucked into it. He will literally do anything to stop talking about those damn files, Epstein files. And as you can see, all his supporters and his pundits are right back in line. They never cared about that, obviously. It was all an attack. Now they can see that they can't attack Democrats with it. They're done with it. The predator in chief, well, at least he's going after those damn minorities, right? These people, the supporters, are cultists like I've never seen. But above all, truly above everything, is that they are bigots. I know I talk about this a lot, and that's purposeful. I know I call Republicans and conservatives racist and bigots all the time. It's purposeful. This is their creme de la creme. It's their go-to move, the Michael Jordan fadeaway, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar hook shot. Racism, bigotry, this is what Republicans always use to get their little pets' attention. Here, boy, that's a good boy. I mean, where am I wrong here? But I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Please leave a like, subscribe. Really helps the channel, really helps push the message out there. And I'll catch you in the next one.